It's a Tim Duncan fan, one Tim Duncan fan versus 10 Duncan haters. I think it was Ticket. What y'all call him? Showtime. I forgot his name. But OZ. He's from Playback Choice. Big Tim Duncan fan. I think he's a huge Tim Duncan um, fan. He loves Tim Duncan. Even when he's talking his delusional takes that Tim Duncan is better than Kobe. But we've seen these two players in the playoff. Kobe have dominated Tim Duncan in the playoff multiple times. Actually, go look up the record versus 7. Kobe is ahead of all time. So I don't know what some of the Duncan fans got some delulu that Tim Duncan is a better player than Kobe. What the fuck are y'all smoking on? Huh? Tim Duncan went back to back Western Conference champion. I think he only went back to back champ one time. If I'm not mistaken, they only went one time back to back Western Conference champion. That was what the later years. When I think on the first team in the later years when Tim Duncan wasn't as good anymore. Yeah, man, he's not better than Kobe. Stop that bullshit. Cut it out. All right, it's not close. I watched them both in live in person. Tim Duncan was a good player. Don't get me wrong, underrated. Not fucking better than Kobe. Put Kobe on those Spurs team. It's gonna be Kobe gonna be leading record. All right. People say, well, put Tim Duncan with Shaq. I give you that, bro. I give you that. A lot of people would have been good with Shaq. Doesn't mean I don't think people would have been as dominant, but a lot of people could have won with Shaq. Probably got a wing or two with Shaq. But Kobe also did have another part of his career where he went 3 straight finals without Shaq. Paul Gasol and his second fiddle player. He ran the West Conference when he had Paul Gasol as second player. Before that, Lakers team got rid of with injuries. They was running shit in the West. So he dominated with Shaq and dominated with Paul Gasol. No more discussion. Kobe better than Tim Duncan. Stop this bullshit. Okay? Stop it. Alright. What about stats and rebounds? He's a fucking big man. What the fuck he supposed to do? You think Kobe's job was to get rebounds and shit? No, Kobe's job was to score. And he was a better scorer than the majority of a lot of players because he's number 3 on the scoring list. Alright, so cut this shit out. Tim Duncan was a good player. Very underrated. Not fucking better than Kobe. Okay, let's get to the video.
People in college will handle the pick and roll better than somebody like Tim Duncan does.
Jokic did more with less than anything Tim Duncan ever did. He beat the 3-time NBA champion Lakers.
So if Tim Duncan is a top 8 player, when are we going to hold him to top 8 standards?
I think you right now are more athletically sound than Tim Duncan would be in the NBA.
Tim Duncan's best mid-range season is less than Dirk Nowitzki's career average from the mid-range.
Joker is not a great athlete.
We would not be talking about Tim Duncan today if it was not for Greg Popovich.
In 2002, we all know that Tim Duncan didn't even deserve the MVP.
We're here today to talk about my man Tim Duncan.
Okay.
The best big man of his era, the best power forward in NBA history, and put all of these haters to rest and put some more respect on Tim Duncan's name. My first claim is Tim Duncan was the best player during the 2000 to 2010 decade.
You can't be absolutely more wrong when you have a guy like Kobe Bryant who, beat him 4 years in that span in the playoffs?
Actually 3.
3-3? Okay, but how many times did Tim Duncan beat him?
Once.
So there's no way that you can be better than him in the decade. More NBA championships, I believe, in that decade with 5. So there's no way. Then your boy, King James, we know that he was better than Tim Duncan in that with 2 MVPs, even though no finals MVPs yet. And then the latter part of his career, Tim Duncan, he wasn't really making NBA all first teams or second teams and stuff like that. So, like, he would just became an average player.
Even though that's not true, because in 2013 he was first team All NBA.
Yeah,
Go
I
do the
was gonna say, I
homework.
don't
That's
know.
number
I
one.
do the homework, but
Actually, you don't.
But,
You
but,
don't.
but what center was in the NBA? Tell me what center, what comparable center. He made it as a center, not a power forward. So you say all NBA first team. What centers?
Which makes that even better.
No, that
because
means
I
the
actually
centers
move it
will-
over. So let's get back to your original claim about the championships.
Okay.
If you feel that way about Kobe Bryant having a better record than him, then you also have to feel that way about Isaiah Thomas because he got a better record than Michael Jordan.
But we all know that's not the truth.
Yeah, exactly. But that's your claim, though, which also means that Steve Nash got a better record than Kobe Bryant because he beat him twice. And you think Steve Nash better than Kobe Bryant?
Oh, absolutely
Absolutely.
not.
But that's your stance.
But
that's what you're standing on.
This is nasty. I'm gonna call it out before. I hate when people do this because there's a big difference between you trying to compare Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, who's we know that career-wise, Michael Jordan is a way better player than Isaiah Thomas. So you're trying to turn this argument into it just matter about record. When people are saying Kobe is better than Tim Duncan, it's not just because he's beat him more. It's also because of what Kobe did. The scoring title, he won the MVP. He was the defensive team and all that stuff. Third time on our scoring list, like we use all that, and we put all that into, and then also having the championship and also winning the final MVP. We put all that together. What he's trying to do is use the Tim Duncan, Kobe beating Tim Duncan, then Kobe beating Tim Duncan, and using that as the reason why. Oh, then why we don't say it about Steve Nash? Because nigga, everybody with eyes and everybody who watch basketball knows Steve Nash is nowhere near the player Kobe Bryant was. Even those MVPs he won, a lot of people like to say Steve Nash didn't deserve the MVPs. I'm not a person. I don't really care. Then you got to think about Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. At the time, Michael Jordan didn't have a team comparable to the Pistons, and then when they were starting to win, and you saw what Michael Jordan was doing at his peak was way better than Isaiah Thomas. So that's why it's not a conversation about Isaiah beat Michael Jordan more times than not. It's just because we all knew what Michael Jordan was at his peak. Just like at Kobe at his peak was a top 5 player, and you can have your argument, whatever, but at his peak he was a top 5 player. But he averaged 35 in the league. There's only few players who have done that. Very few list of players, and then also he had a longevity career of 20 years, spanning in the NBA, and he was for the most part he was on the floor for majority of his career. He isn't like someone like a Joel Embiid who averaged 34, and he was riddled his career with injuries and have like not great playoff performances. It's just it's nasty how you trying to spin it. If you like, there's a way. Like if you, I say like you could make other argument. I think that argument is probably the weakest one. Just trying to say what everybody else have the better record than this player. Like no, it's different. Like I think about this. Eli Manning beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl, right? We don't use that as a reason why we should put Eli Manning above Tom Brady because we know the majority of the career Tom Brady was a better quarterback. He was better for most of the season, but for most of the season than Eli Manning. He never. I think Eli Manning had a couple years where he would let it leak interceptions. He never been like a turnover machine like Eli Manning. Like we seen Tom Brady like put up better games for a majority of his career than Eli Manning. But it's a difference when we get to Peyton Manning. When we get to Peyton Manning, we use a record against him because Peyton Manning's skill level and the numbers level, he's up there with Tom Brady. But what's the difference between them? Tom Brady beat him. I think for the most part, if you look at their career, I think Tom Brady has the head on Peyton Manning all the time. In the playoff, I know he's Peyton Manning started winning a little bit more when we went to Denver, but for the most part, like people use those playoff as the reason why Tom Brady was better than Peyton Manning. It's because they're so good and so skilled and close. Like it's just so close that okay, what's the difference? Well, this guy beat this guy more time in the playoff, and this guy has more championship. Now, if Tom Brady, if Peyton Manning was somehow would have won 5 championships, it would have been a lot more easier. Well, a couple more championships, it would have been a lot more easier to argue for Peyton, like it is like Tim Duncan and Kobe. But a lot of people, when it's like something like that close, they gonna probably they gonna go to like, well, who was better in the playoff, who performed better, who won more in the playoff, and then Kobe. So some people gonna use that as the edge over Kobe. It's not like a flawed thing to do because it ain't very close, and for terms of like skills and what they accomplished through their careers, and so it's just very close. So people gonna use that as like I guess the fighting factor. Now that shouldn't be the whole story, in some of these because it should be more the story. But with the Spurs and Lakers, like both had good organizations, both had good players around them, and Kobe won more than Tim Duncan. So a lot of people are going to go over Kobe and Tim Duncan. That doesn't mean I think Steve Nash is better because he beat Kobe twice. No, because Steve Nash is nowhere near the level of a player of Kobe, and didn't have like the longevity of success, and didn't reach the peak of what Kobe did. Like his peak was like kind of short lived or whatnot. So nah, I don't understand that logic.
You brought that up first. That's the first thing you brought up.
But you're talking about in the decade.
Once again, that's the first thing you brought up.
I know, I understand.
So that's your stance.
But from 2000
Yep.
to 2010,
Yep.
Tim Duncan,
Yep.
you can even claim that. Well, give me the year that he was the best player definitively in the NBA.
2003. That's
2003.
easy.
No, are you sure?
That's
Because I saw
easy.
Kobe Bryant on a 40-point streak there,
Yep.
8 to 9 games.
Hey.
Nobody has never claimed that Tim Duncan was the best player in the game.
How many games?
Eight games, but like he was averaging.
Tell everybody
30.
here. Tell everybody here because of your claim
Okay.
about the playoffs. Tell everybody here who showed Kobe Bryant in the 3-time
I know.
NBA championships the door.
But
I'm
years
sorry?
prior, but 08,
Yeah.
when Tim Duncan beat him in the Western Conference Finals, so
Actually, he beat Tim Duncan. He beat Tim Duncan.
He
sure.
beat Tim Duncan,
and Duncan was still awesome in that series, just like he was awesome in the series in 2002.
And then in 2002,
He was awesome in that series.
In 2002, we all know that Tim Duncan didn't even deserve the MVP. Chris Webber led the NBA 61
Chris
wins.
Webber?
61 wins.
Chris Webber?
No, not even Chris Webber.
Make a claim. Make a
No,
claim.
it's not Chris Webber.
Please,
It's
make a
really
claim.
Jason Kidd. Straight up, Stephon Marbury.
I don't know about that time, so hey, we can go back and look and see what Chris Webber was doing, but I guess it's for context. So. What's that? 2002. Man, I'm so sick, man. I think that's what I get from being out in the clubs, bro. My body can't take it, man. Who most valuable player in the career? Leaders like what that? All right, bro. Go back. What? So points per game. Points per game. And Allen Iverson led the league with 31. Shaq was 27. 26 Paul Pierce, 25. Tim Duncan. Kobe was behind. said who? Chris Webber. Is Chris Webber even on top 10 in scoring? No, I know there's more to it than scoring, but I don't even see Chris Webber. Jesus Christ. I don't know. I might be missing something. I don't see Chris Webber not top 10 in scoring. Top 15? I mean, top 15 in scoring. I don't even. I think at least you got to be scoring real well, but maybe I'm tripping. But I don't know what the fuck you talking about. I don't even see Chris Webber. Okay, whatever. Let's just go back. All right, scoring don't matter. Per rebound. Tim Duncan led it. And rebounds. Ben Wallace, Kevin Garnett was behind. Shaq with 14. Pop got star. I don't know, man. Maybe. I don't know. I ain't just really see. Was it Chris Webber even in the league? I don't know, man. I don't know, but I don't, like I said, I'm young, bro. I don't know.
Harry for Jason Kidd, they come from worst to first in the NBA and take them to the NBA Finals. You can't tell. What did Tim Duncan do in that stretch that he deserved the MVP?
Okay, so
mediocre 23 and 11.
Mediocre 23 and 11.
Yes.
So let's discuss the fact that we were the number one defense in the league. That's number one.
Wasn't the best team in the NBA.
We were the second best team in the NBA. We had the best record in the Western Conference.
No, you didn't. It was Sacramento in 2002.
2002. In 2002.
Okay.
So we had the number one defense in the league.
Okay.
The average 23 and 13. That was more than Webber.
Okay.
So that's more than what Chris Webber was doing.
Okay.
Not only was it more than Chris Webber was doing, on top of that, I was the best defensive big in the game.
Okay.
On the best team, because we went to the Western Conference Championship that year.
No, you didn't.
In 2002. It was the Lakers. I'm thinking about 2003. I'm sorry.
Who eliminated them?
In 2002?
Kobe Bryant, right?
In 2002, in the Western Conference Championship. But I'm glad you brought that up, because why didn't you bring up the idea of what Tim Duncan was doing? You know Tim Duncan in 2002, I think he averaged, 23 and 13 in that series?
But he was the third best player in that series, right behind Kobe and Shaq.
He wasn't the third best player.
I got you.
Okay, I guess we're done. Okay.
First of all, you said 2010. Now let's step away from the NBA. 2000, Kevin Garnett anchored the team to win the Olympics. 2004, what happened? Tim Duncan choked, leader of the team. 2008, what happened? Kobe Bryant led that team. So my question is,
Olympics? Is that your logic?
Yes, Olympics.
You're bringing up the Olympics?
I'm bringing up the Olympics.
Are you bringing up the Olympics?
Hold up.
Okay,
I'm bringing it up
Go
because Tim Duncan was just the poster child for the best franchise in the NBA. He was not the best. He was just the poster child. Listen, what Tim Duncan had was structure, right? We talk about 15 first team all defense. How many defensive player of the years did Tim Duncan had?
So, zero.
Exactly. He had all defensive first team teammates. Bruce Bowen, even when he was winding down, what is the NBA?
I don't know if that's the Chicago against Tim Duncan, but not having a defensive MVP when Rudy Gobert had 4. I don't know, man. Hold on, let me see some of the comments though. You guys really have no idea how good Tim Duncan was. So OG had a click. I wonder how long it took him to find Tim Duncan haters. Yeah, but what's a Kobe fan? That's crazy, bro. Y'all know how dead Tim Duncan was. These haters was way better than me through the screen. Tim Duncan is absolute great power forward of all time. Just like it's crazy. Ginobili is better than SGA. I don't know what the fuck they getting. Hoops. I hope nobody.
They give him Kawhi Leonard. David Robinson was defensive player. How many guys played with guys that were
None of those guys made the all-defensive team. David Robinson did not make the all-defensive team when he was with Tim Duncan. That's number one. That's number. Shoulda, woulda, coulda doesn't work. So first of all, let's get back to the Olympics.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but Larry Brown. Yeah. Do you know the guys that played the least amount of minutes?
Yes,
on that?
Melo. That's the excuse. Melo, LeBron. They gonna do all that.
Keep going. Melo,
LeBron, the ways.
Okay,
all of that.
so them dudes played the least amount of minutes on the crew. So we can start there. In 2000, Tim Duncan was hurt. That's why he didn't play on the Olympic team. So let's not make it look like he just wasn't good enough. He was hurt. That's why he didn't play on the Olympic team. And in 2008, that's what it was.
Okay.
And
so what happened in 2004?
I just told you, Larry Brown, who has Carmelo Anthony, who's playing the least amount of minutes on the crew, Dwayne Wade, who's playing the second least amount of minutes on the crew, and LeBron James, who's playing the third least amount of minutes on the crew. These are the guys that's on the crew that's not playing at all.
So you telling me an MVP?
And by the way, Richard Jefferson is playing ahead of LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, Richard Jefferson just got to the finals, and you want to blame sophomores
Richard
in the NBA?
Jefferson?
Yes,
Is that what we
Richard
doing?
Jefferson. Yes, we doing that.
Richard Jefferson?
LeBron James was in his second year. D Wade was in his second year.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony was second year. You want to blame sophomores for an MVP, a back-to-back MVP, not being able to carry something? What are we talking about? How?
Absolutely.
How?
And the reason
if I'm the best player on a team, why am I gonna start crying because sophomores couldn't play? I'm the best player. I'm back-to-back MVP. But you know what happened? He left his structure. He didn't have Greg Popovich. He didn't have Bruce Bowen. He didn't have David Robinson. What did he do? Absolutely nothing.
So since you bring up structure, tell everybody here who Tony Parker was before 2000.
We not doing that.
Yes, that's your stance.
Okay.
Your stance is structure. That's what your stance is. So once again, tell everybody who Tony Parker was.
Okay, so you want to bring up...
Tell everybody who Tony Parker was.
You want to bring up Tony Parker.
Tell everybody who he was.
You want to bring up
It's the same Tony Parker who in the NBA Finals in 2003, they were talking about getting Jason Kidd on the crew because he wasn't that. Tell everybody here who Manu Ginobili was.
Manu Ginobili was the guy that knocked out Tim Duncan.
Yeah, you didn't...
Finals,
But here's the difference. The difference is...
That's what he did.
Who was he the year before that, though?
He was in Argentina and he was winning the gold medal with Tim Duncan.
That was the year later.
Tony Parker's... Bro, he's in finals. We have finals MVP, Hall of Famers. That's what happened.
Tim Duncan is the least influential superstar in NBA history. When we talk about certain players like Steph Curry, we talk about their influence. Now today, nobody plays like Tim Duncan. We mentioned Weber, we mentioned KG. All the forwards today play like them. How do you feel like Tim Duncan's game would translate in the modern NBA?
I think he'd be the best player in the game today.
Can't shoot, doesn't pass
Can't
well.
shoot what?
Wait, I'm not done.
Keep going.
Can't guard in space. I don't even think he'd be able to play.
Can't shoot?
Can't shoot what? 38% on long twos. Is that shooting?
Yeah.
See, this is insane. Tim Duncan can't play? That's just nigga. Tim Duncan, bro? Y'all be stealing some of these niggas they got. Bro, Tim Duncan couldn't play into the game? To the game, bro? Man, I'm finna violate the NBA player right now, but let's just... No, I'm not gonna do it, but nigga, like I should violate some NBA players. But it's not even worth it because they have nothing to do with it. But come on, man. It's some people. I know some people. It's some people on your team, on your favorite team, who you looking at like, yeah, who the fuck giving him money for basketball? Come on, bro. That's crazy, bro. That's a crazy take, man.
Yes, that is shooting.
Huh?
Yes.
Jaylen Brown shoots over 50% on long twos.
So you talk about a two guard as opposed to a four man. That's what you're talking about. You talking about a big guy?
Supposed to stretch.
Yes, and he does.
Dirk Nowitzki's one of the greatest big men in NBA history.
100%.
Great shooter.
Yes,
He's
sir.
a four.
Yes, sir.
Stretch four.
And so is Tim Duncan.
All the greatest power forwards could shoot the three,
Right.
and they could pass really well. He's
Actually,
not a
that's
hub,
true.
and he can't shoot the
That's
three,
not true.
and he'd even shoot
That's
well from
not true at
mid-range.
all. That's not true because Malone couldn't
Nobody's
shoot the
going to
three.
watch Tim Duncan
Not
post
only
up
could
in
Malone
2026.
Not only could Malone not shoot the three, but Charles Barkley is the worst three-point shooter in NBA history at the four spot. The worst.
What does
That's
that have to do
number
with
two.
Tim Duncan
You
translating to
just-
2026?
You literally just said
He's not a hub. He can't shoot. He can't defend.
Okay.
How's he playing?
He can't defend. How can he not defend if Evan Mobley can defend?
He can protect
if
the rim
Jaren
like a five.
If Jaren Jackson can
He
defend,
can't-
if Evan Mobley can defend,
can't
why
defend in
can't
space.
100% he can defend in space.
In 2026, you have to be a switchable defender.
And Tim Duncan was a switchable defender in
No,
2000.
he was not.
100%.
Kobe
he was.
used
He was
to
able
cook him when he saw him.
Kobe absolutely didn't.
His
cook him
eyes
when
went
he saw
wide
him.
open. Yes, I was watching all the highlights this morning, and your ridiculous takes about Tim Duncan
So
all
one example,
morning.
Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. So So the league.
You could watch him play once and see he can't slide his feet.
So the league is full of Kobe Bryant. If he couldn't slide his feet, then how is he such a good defender if he couldn't slide his feet?
He's not such a good defender.
He 100%.
Hands down. He could block a few shots.
Interesting.
David Robinson cleaned up.
This is kind of going off the rails here, but yeah, I think Tim Duncan would have been a decent defender. Could he slide his feet and stay in front of the guards? No, that's insane. But I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but I think we need to slow down, OG, because Tim Duncan is not staying in front of. He wasn't even staying in front of Kobe. I mean, I doubt. Like, I know I was born 2000, so I ain't watched a lot of 2000. I've only seen highlights and whatnot. But Tim Duncan was never seen like a person who's going to stay in front of Kobe. Like, he's not. He's like, of course, it wasn't required on them back then to stay in front of guards like that. I don't think he would have stayed in front of guards today. But also, it's still defenders who's good by today's standards who can't stay in front of guards too. Like Mobley. I mean, Mobley can slide his feet a little bit better, maybe, than Tim Duncan. Because like it's more required of forwards now. So maybe Tim Duncan, if he would have grown up in this era, he would have been better. But it's still difficult. You're not putting like it still be difficult. Like still got guys like Jared Allen, like who can't really defend that great in space. Rudy Gobert can't really defend that great in space. Ayton, damn, yeah. But I don't think that would have made Tim Duncan would have been unplayable. But no, I don't think also Tim Duncan was staying in front of guards. I don't know what OG talking about. All right, Tim Duncan was never seen as like he can guard all 5 positions. That is insane. Tim Duncan was really good guarding the 4 and the 5. I don't think no more was putting Tim Duncan on LeBron or putting him on Kobe. That's insane. I don't know where he get that from.
Everything up. Kawhi Leonard's one of the greatest defensive players to ever live, and he's a way more versatile defender than Duncan.
Just like Tim Duncan is a way more versatile defender than David Robinson, than most of these guys today.
Actually, David Robinson would translate to the modern NBA
and
way
so
better
would
than
Tim Duncan.
No, he wouldn't.
So first and
he could
foremost,
run up and down
Tim
the court
Duncan
way faster. He's a better lob threat than Tim Duncan.
You literally just told me that Tim Duncan was almost 40% on long twos. So that's
not efficient.
So that's the only. So is that the only place I'm playing? Is that the long? Is long twos? No.
He's supposed to take a bunch of long twos.
100%. So with him taking these long twos, are you telling me that his game wouldn't translate?
His game would not translate.
100% it would, because I was awesome on the box. Not only was I awesome.
Averaged 3 assists a game.
Not only was I awesome.
The 4 is a hub in the modern NBA.
So who is killing it on the box as a distributor? Go ahead.
What? Jokic?
Okay, keep going.
Sabonis?
Okay.
Sabonis' dad?
Sabonis can't cover.
Duncan?
KG averaged 4
Shaq was a
assists.
better passer than Duncan.
Let's go over some numbers right here, man. 10 years. There were 7 NBA finals that the Lakers went to and Kobe Bryant went to. So in those 7 finals, that leaves 3 for Tim Duncan. So how is he the best? Explain to me that with your numbers.
Is that what you're doing?
Yes,
with the
finals. Yes, the best players go to the finals and win.
Yeah,
win.
And he did that too.
Okay.
So he
for 3 times in that decade. You're talking about a decade, 10 years span. In those 10 years, he was there 3 times.
And
how about the other 7?
Tell
other 7.
Whoa. Tell all your friends here how many times he lost in those finals.
How many? None.
0.
Okay. Because he wasn't making it. Because he was at home watching Kobe get titles with Pau Gasol, with dysfunction, averaging 30 points per game, scoring 81. What was he doing?
He was in the playoffs every year.
He was going to the Virgin Islands chilling.
He was in the playoffs every year.
That's what he was doing.
He was in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, you're right.
He was in the playoffs, and he was in the playoffs every year.
He was.
So you keep saying because of the structure. He was the catalyst of that structure.
That's great. Was he the catalyst?
Yes, he was the catalyst of that structure.
Because that structure lasts. That structure
because
lasted.
if you think about the guys that was on his crew, if you think about you didn't know who Tony Parker was.
I know who he is now.
You do know who he is now.
Because that's who he got drafted by.
Right.
So was I not?
I say this, man. Tim Duncan was definitely the catalyst of the further structure. He was the main reason why that worked. But I think Greg Popovich was a really, really great coach. Um, you talking about a guy who was a GM, fired the coach, and I'm like, yeah, nigga, I'm gonna take this over, and he did a good job, man. Like he turned Spurs into like a really good franchise. Got Tim Duncan, got David Robinson his ring, um, was able to find players overseas and turn players into great players like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Draft Kawhi Leonard, draft Danny Green, Patty Mills. Had a lot of guys come in and like really play in the system well. Tim Duncan was really great, but I say like the latest 2000, you can see how great of a coach Greg Popovich was when Tim Duncan started to slow down and wasn't as great as he was in his prime. He was able to adapt and translate to the modern NBA. Was able to get Kawhi Leonard, was able to get shooters on the team. Had Tony Parker as the main guy, and like you can just see like Greg Popovich was a really good coach who could compete even when Tim Duncan retired when they lost Kawhi. They would still have some good years with DeMar DeRozan or whatnot. Even though it was not like those teams wasn't crazy good. I think they had some decent team run with LaMarcus Aldridge and whatnot. But like I say, it's a mixture of both. Both help each other out. I don't know if Tim Duncan would have been as successful if he went to like a Charlotte or whatever. But I think I don't think he would have had like the champion success. I think personal success he would have still been fine, but like sometimes like when you have a good franchise and a good player, they help each other out. Same with Michael Jordan when he got to Chicago. At first it was a terrible team, and then eventually they was able to turn into a good franchise when they brought with Jerry Krause and came in. You got Phil Jackson. They drafted a lot of good players. They traded some players away. They got some good players. Like that, I think when you have a real great player, it just put pressure on the franchise to be better. And a lot of these great players have good. We have like a lot of great players, these legendary players. They put pressure on the team to perform well, and whenever we don't see that, like we will call it out, like But for the most part, like a lot of these great players usually have a great franchise around them because they put pressure on those teams to perform. Like it'd be hard for a player like if you have a great player, it make it hard for everyone to like relax. It's like the expectation is to win a championship. So I don't know, man. I think it's a mixture of both.
Not supposed to know beforehand.
But this
I was
the
supposed
same.
to watch France basketball.
Yes, you
Figure it
were.
out.
Just like you're supposed to find out who Luca was. But the point is you were supposed to know who Tony Parker was.
Yeah.
Tony Parker was about to get traded in 2003. Not only we didn't know who Manu Ginobili was.
only
Steven
had-
Jackson,
Go Melo.
Malik Rose, Steve Kerr who was over, David Robinson who was Steve
40% from three.
Steve Kerr was over. He was finished.
Okay.
Kevin Willis who was 44 years old. Not only Kevin Willis, David Robinson who was over.
Okay.
These are the guys that he's winning the NBA championship
Yeah,
with.
great. And he won a couple NBA championships. But you're saying over
A couple.
under.
3 is more than a couple.
Okay, 3's more than a couple.
Yes, sir.
Five's more than
Undefeated.
three. And
Undefeated.
five's more than three.
And you had Shaq on your crew. I never had Shaq on my crew.
Okay,
and
pound
I don't
result.
did I.
I said that's nasty, bro. Cause this is what I'm talking about. He had Shaq on his crew, bro. Chill. I'm OG. He went to 3 straight finals without Shaq, and he dominated the West Conference without Shaq. He won 2 championships without Shaq. It's like I'm not saying that other players couldn't have won with Shaq, but that's just so disingenuous. It's kind of like you kind of dismissing a guy's career when you're saying, "Well, he had Shaq." Motherfucker, he dominated without Shaq too, bro. like I can't really use that as a thing against you when you won without him. You won multiple championships without him. So you and whatever you and for the most part, like Tim Duncan did have. I can be nasty with it and say Tim Duncan never won without Greg Popovich. But that's because Greg Popovich was a good coach. So of course they were gonna win, and of course he's gonna be there for the rest of their career. So same thing like with Kobe. Kobe didn't have shit to do with Shaq being on his team, and even if he wanted Shaq on the team or not, he came. Winning with great players shouldn't be a knock against somebody's legacy. You shouldn't use that as well. He had Shaq on the team, bro. We acting like he was getting carried, bro. They were putting up crazy numbers together, bro. And Shaq was there in '96. From '96 to '99, they didn't win no championship. I think Kobe was drafted with, around '96. I think that's around the same time Shaq came, '96, '97. If I'm mistaken. Shaq didn't win no championship from any of those years. They didn't win at all. I think they still had decent players on the team, like Van Exel and all that, Eddie Jones and whatnot. They didn't win no championship from '96 to '99 when Shaq got there. Then Kobe came arrived on the scene, and that was when Shaq was like in his dominating prime, peak Shaq, and then Kobe came along. I think it's just like a mixture of both. So it's just disingenuous when people try to use that argument against Kobe, like he won with Shaq. It's just insane. Like who, if you're a good player and you had Shaq on your team and you couldn't win with Shaq, that's a knock against you. To be honest with you, that shouldn't be a knock against Kobe.
How many all 75 players you winning with? Okay, if you're playing with David Robinson.
See, that logic, right? Yeah, that logic doesn't work. The reason why that logic doesn't work is because, number one, you don't even agree with the top 75 list. There's plenty of top 75 players on that list that you don't even think should be on there. And now you're telling me, because I know you. And I know this, yeah, I know you. And the guys that you have on that top 75 list, you think shouldn't be on there. So how are we not putting guys like George Mikan, because he ain't have a top 75 player, and he won a bunch of NBA championships. There's plenty of guys.
He actually won some NBL championships too.
Absolutely. So if you don't even think that the top 75 list is valid, so how you gonna bring up Pau Gasol? Who was
he's sprint. This shit gonna finna go longer. I feel like I got one more reaction.
Actually on the All NBA 75 list. If you look at that list, just like you're lying about Tim Duncan being the best player, you're lying about George Mikan because he is on the list. You can go look at
I didn't say Jim Mike. I didn't say he wasn't. I didn't say he wasn't. You said that Kobe Bryant had. My next claim is Tim Duncan is a top 8 player in NBA history.
When we talk about top 8, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you view Tim Duncan in terms of his position at power forwards? Where you got him at?
The best.
The best. So KG isn't in that conversation for you?
Yeah, he is.
Giannis?
He is.
Dirk?
They are.
Okay. Do you view Tim Duncan as a better defensive player or offensive player? And what matters more in terms of winning NBA championships, winning games?
I think that they were equal.
You think he was equal defensively and offensively? I think that's a cop-out, but I'll say it this way, okay? If Tim Duncan's supposed to be a better defender than offensive player, during his prime, 2001 to 2003, he played with David Robinson.
Sure.
Right? The defense was 5 points worse with David Robinson off the floor and Tim Duncan on. Mm-hmm. He played 55% of his minutes during his prime with the center. Mm-hmm. He never forced turnovers at above average level, whether his lineups or his own sort of statistics as well. So that means that Tim Duncan was, in essence, a product of his system because he wasn't forcing turnovers. He was playing next to centers. And overall, his defensive impact, again, as some of my counterparts have mentioned, it's not translating to the modern NBA because you look at what Steve Nash did to him in the playoffs. Steve Nash has a career 19 points per 75 playoff score. Sure. Against Tim Duncan, he averages 22 per 75 on +3 relative true shooting percentage rather than his regular average. So it's like that's the best pick and roll guard we've seen. And he's the prototypical pick and roll guy. He's frying him before spacing was all there. And so the defense isn't translating. He's got a bunch of centers around him. So I want to hear how he could be top 8 when he's not even that level defender to put him in that conversation.
So if we're talking about Tim Duncan being a top 8 defender, the idea of you telling me that pick and roll defense today is his biggest problem. I mean, we're talking about a Phoenix team that played a lot faster than everybody else, and a lot of their offense was just get the ball and go. It wasn't like it is today where it's actually sets and you can actually set your defense up, which is where Tim Duncan thrived in that. Not only was it that, so you got the long ball and you got guys in the post who can score in the mid post and in the mid range, and Duncan is cleaning up the glass. Back then, you're talking about the 8 seconds or less offense where it was just one pass and a shot. I mean, Tim Duncan can definitely thrive in that offense.
Defend them in the set offense either, though. Like when they was lining him up and they bring Amari Stoudemire, he can't defend vertically, he can't defend horizontally.
That's just not true.
He's not at the level of the screen.
That's not true at all.
We watched it.
But we 100% watched it.
And he struggled.
And just like Steve Nash struggled against them too. But let's stay on Tim Duncan.
Let's
stay on
Look
Tim
at the
Duncan.
numbers. He was frying them. His best playoff series came against the Spurs.
But it's interesting that you bring up the numbers, because if you bring up the numbers, that only tells part of the story. So we're talking about Tim Duncan.
Talking about the tape too, though. If you watch the tape,
right? And I watched the tape.
KG did more with less. KG's one of the better.
KG did not do more.
KG did more with less. He's out there with Sam Cassell. He's out with Sam Cassell, the guy who slandered Halliburton and a bunch of guys off the street.
Okay,
and he had better offenses relative to the average of Tim Duncan.
And I can say the same thing about Tim Duncan, who's winning with Avery Johnson and Mario Ellie in his backcourt. Just so you know, combined, they average 18 a game. That's my backcourt. No, that's not fine. No. Stay right there. That's not fine. I also got a journeyman in Jerome Kersey. Not only Jerome Kersey, but I got a bunch of different guys who nobody wanted.
We line up these rosters. We line up the Timberwolves rosters and the Spurs rosters. Everyone's taking the Spurs rosters. What are we talking about?
No, we're not. The reason why you're taking the Spurs rosters is because of Tim Duncan.
No, because of Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, David Robinson, and Robert Ory, and all these guys, Boris Diaw. What are we talking about?
Can you tell me who is your top 8 all time?
James, Jordan, Jabbar, Chamberlain, Russell, Magic, Bird, and Duncan.
So if Tim Duncan is a top 8 player, when are we going to hold him to top 8 standards? Why is it so frequently Tim Duncan is not playing like a superstar, letting other people run the offense, take over, win games, and he just gets the credit for it? For example, in the 2005 NBA Finals, the Spurs came out to a 2-0 lead. Who's the leading scorer in Game 1? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it was Manu Ginobili.
Manu Ginobili, 27 points. Game 2, 26 points. Highest plus minus on the team, both games.
Sure.
Pistons tied up. Game 5 goes to overtime. Duncan, he did his thing. He had 20 points. Ginobili had 15, but he had 9 assists. Sure. No one else on the team had more than 2, so he's the primary playmaker. He got the game-winning assist to Robert Ory in overtime for the game-winning 3, right? Game 7, championship on the line, right? Duncan had 25 points. Do you know what he shot that night?
I think he was like 8 for 25, something like that.
He was 10 for 27, 6 of 18 in the second half. As a big man, right? Ginobili, 23 points. He shot 61% from the field, didn't miss from 3, didn't miss from the free throw line.
Sure.
Who's leaving their fingerprints on that series more? Against a defensive team where you need to get buckets, Tim Duncan struggled. How come we don't talk about that? I think Manu Ginobili should have got Finals MVP.
You can make an argument for Manu Ginobili being the
Why
Finals
is it
MVP?
that Tim Duncan is not stepping up over a player who, frankly, he's an all-time Hall of Famer, but he's not at the same tier. So why is Tim Duncan getting credit when he shrinks in the moment?
So let's discuss the fact that he did average 20 and 12 against the best defense almost in NBA history in that series.
On what efficiency, though?
Okay, but of course your efficiency is going to go down when you're going up against a great defensive team.
Ginobili's efficiency went up.
Yeah. Okay, so Ginobili didn't have the responsibility that Tim Duncan had.
Ginobili had more responsibility than he was supposed to have.
The reason why is because of what they were doing with Tim Duncan.
What were they doing with Tim Duncan?
The fact that
locking him up?
No, not just locking him up.
Why was he struggling to score as a big man? He's 5 feet from the rim. He shot 10 for 27 in Game 7.
Why are you leaving out the fact that the double team was coming on the weak side? Why are you leaving out that?
If the double team came, then Tim Duncan should have had more assists, right?
But he was passing, and guys like why are you leaving out the fact that guys like Tony Parker, who also shrunk in that moment, he didn't make open shots.
I'm not talking about Tony Parker. I said let's talk about Manu Ginobili should have won Finals MVP.
If you're talking about assists, then you can't just be talking about him throwing the ball to Manu Ginobili. He's got to be giving the ball to other people too.
Okay.
And the reason why
he couldn't kill the double teams. We're just saying. And
I'm not saying that he couldn't kill the double team. I'm saying that those other guys weren't able to knock down open shots as frequently against that defense, because that 2004 defense was an emphatic defense.
I understand. I get it. The Pistons beat my Lakers too. I get it, right? But I want to know, why does Tim Duncan get protected for that? He struggled and no one talks about it, but we still hear about Kobe and other guys with inefficient finals, but no one talks about Tim.
I don't know that he got protected. I mean, they did win. Let's make sure that we clear that.
He shouldn't have won Finals MVP. Ginobili deserved it.
Let's make sure that we clear that he did win. With that also being said, we're also talking about a Tim Duncan who changed his game. And when he changed,
how did he change his game? By taking a backseat on offense for the last decade of his career?
And why not? That's how I'm winning.
Alrighty, so you just listed your top 8 players of all time, assuming that also means greatest players of all time. time?
I don't
eight?
do the greatest.
You don't do the greatest? Okay, that's totally fine. Off of what criteria, though, would you say you're top 8?
Number 1, is your game timeless? Number 2, did you dominate? Number 3, did you win?
Sure.
Number 4, how impactful, how transcendent is your game? And number 5, how impactful on society were you?
Sure, totally get it. First point, dominance. I think Tim Duncan lacked a dominant offensive peak. I know you said he was the best player from 2000 to 2010, I think you said. I think I would close that window to more 99 to 2005, right? You look at the first 7 years of his career, he averaged over 25 points per game once.
Yeah.
And then the last 10, 11 years of his career, like we just said, he was
We're just talking about from 2000 to 2010. We don't have to go back.
No, I know, but I think this is important when you're bringing up the top 8 of all time.
Sure.
Because when you look at the last 11, 12 years of Tim Duncan's career,
Yeah.
he was able to punt on the regular season. Like, he had that luxury because of how good his teams
Well, he couldn't
were.
punt on the regular season because they won 50 games for
But
20
he-
straight years, so he's
exactly,
not punting.
because that's how good his team was. But he was OG load management. If
But
you
he
think
wasn't
about
load
it,
management. He was
his
19
minutes-
when he stopped averaging 23 and 25 a game. His game didn't decline. He just changed his game because of the emergence of other players.
100%.
And
But-
with him changing his game because of the emergence of these other players, that enhanced the unit. Now, I could have just threw a monkey wrench in this and kept averaging 24 and 25. That doesn't necessarily mean that we win, but it doesn't mean that we lose neither.
Totally.
But with that being said, with him doing that, he's still averaging 19, 10, and 3 blocks because that's what it's going to take in order for us to win
And
NBA championships.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing that, like, you know, it's not bad he can go out and average 18, 19 points a game for those last 10 years of his career. But other players who we have above him, like us haters here, like we don't have him top 10 per se. The other players above him didn't have that luxury to be able to punt on the regular season. Like, if you have a Kobe, like who? Give me an example. If Dirk Nowitzki was able to punt on the regular season, he's shamed. I'm not saying Dirk is a top 8 or top 8 player. I'm just saying power forwards. But like Kobe Bryant, you look at that.
Punt. I don't know if I like the word punt.
Well,
because
that's essentially what he did. If you think about it.
If he's punting,
Yeah.
if he's punting on the in the regular season, how come he's still first team All Pro? If he's punting in the regular season, how come he's still a first team All League
100%.
defender? If he's punting,
Because he's a tremendous player, obviously, but other players in the top 10, top 8 are tremendous players that didn't have that luxury. So I think the fact that Tim Duncan had that luxury, if you had that luxury, realistically, I think he's more of a top 12 player of all time. I'm putting Kobe above him. I'm putting Hakeem above him. I'm putting Steph above him. Guys with dominant offensive peaks who have done it for way longer than Tim Duncan did.
if we're talking about Tim Duncan punting during the regular season, I'm just changing my game to be better for us winning. Because if I'm not changing my game in order for us to win, because again, not only Manu Ginobili being the best rotation player, but Tony Parker being one of the best downhill guards in the game, he wasn't that before, and he turned into that. And I'm changing my game in order for us to win.
And I agree. Tim Duncan was able to elevate his game in the postseason for sure. But when you're 31, 32 years old and you're just not playing, like you're just playing average in the regular season, other guys don't have that luxury. So I'm not putting him top 8 because of that. He lacked an offensive peak like other players above him.
I'll say this, but okay, that was good. That's good. I'm on there, but I think for that last thing they said about Tim Duncan punting in the career, I think Tim Duncan had no choice to change at the end of his career. He wasn't the same player. It wasn't like he had a conversation with the Spurs and they was like, "Yo, I don't." From what I was watching, I don't think it was like a conversation about, "Yo, Tim, we need you to, take a step back and let the guys." I think he had to. I think he couldn't be as dominant he once was in the early 2000s. His athletic ability sort of declined around those 2000, 2010 to 2015, 16. Well, of course 2016, but 2010. I said like 2011. What I'm gonna say when it started getting back to the finals, 2012, 2013, 2014. I think those years he had no choice but to take a step back because he couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't do it at the level he could do it in the 2000s, which is like typical. But that's the one thing we're gonna use against you. He had a sort of adapt his game. He had to step his role. Like, I can't really try to dominate as I once was, but he can still be a real good player. He's still really good for the Spurs. He had guys like Kawhi, Tony Parker, Manu came in, Danny Green, Patty Mills. Like, guys come in and help him out. and I think that was that's not like a shot against him, but it's just the real fact of what happened the latter parts of his career. He had to adapt and adjust. Like he wasn't the best player anymore. Whereas Kobe, when he started declining and got injuries, like it was no like structure behind Kobe to help him out on the organization. Kind of lost his way, had injuries, players got older and whatnot. They couldn't quite literally be the same organization as it was when Kobe was the best player. Like they couldn't really do the same thing. They kind of like when you kind of saw like even before Kobe got hurt, like you kind of see like the structure was looking shaky, and then he got hurt, and then it went down. So I mean, I can understand why someone would like, well, Tim Duncan got to like he didn't have to be as dominant he once was, and he still had a good system around him. I can see why people use that against him. I don't think it's fair, but I understand it though. I totally I understand where they're coming from, but like because a lot of guys like in their later years, like once they talent starts to fade, the whole franchise start to decline, or you can be like Steph Curry's situation where Steph Curry is right now. He's a really good player. He's still a top 10, 15 player, at least a top 10 to 15 NBA player in the league right now. But just because he got injuries around him and the team around him isn't that good as it once was, um, they right now like I think they about to be eliminated or they not about to be um, eliminated from playing contention. But you like it's just like certain players doesn't have the luxury that Tim Duncan did had in a career. But I think that's more just on how good the Spurs organization was ran by Greg Popovich. That's just how good that organization is, man. They was able to adapt and they were able to pivot right before Tim Duncan play started to decline a little bit, and they was able to pick up where they left off. They would kind of pick up where Tim Duncan couldn't like really carry them no more. So I don't think it's a slight against Tim Duncan. I think it's more of how good of a coach Greg Popovich is, who I think I don't care what anybody say he's the greatest coach ever. To be honest with you, I understand you can have some comments about Phil Jackson, but I think for the coach when I seen Greg Popovich is the greatest coach of all time. So I think we need to put more respect on Greg Popovich and how great a coach he is. Tim Duncan, who's a really good player. I think you have a lot of people who try to put him like I just for me, I just think a lot of people trying to over romanticize how great Tim Duncan was because he was so quiet and uh, not really a big talker. They try to overcompensate and try to make him put him in like crazy top 10 combos over Kobe. Um, to me, it just never made sense. But I understand like if you go a big Tim Duncan fan, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one to you, but I just never saw it. Tim Duncan being in the top five combos over Kobe, top eight. Um, Tim Duncan to me is more falling to 10 to like he's around like if I was doing my top 10, he'll be 10, no less than 12 on my list. He would be like in a he wouldn't be in he probably be in a top eight, but he was not in my top seven or five or whatever. But he was a really good player though. I think he was a really good player. To me, do I think he's good at power forward all the time? Yeah, you can have a conversation. I think like someone like Hakeem was really good, really great. I'm a real big fan of Hakeem. I might be more of a big fan of Hakeem, even though I never got to see Hakeem play. I just when we used to being a kid watching him team highlights and whatnot, stuff he was doing in the post and like with his footwork. I think to me, I really like that part of the power forward. So I just felt like him was he probably one of the best power forward. But I wouldn't be mad about Tim Duncan being the best power forward. Also, I think Dirk Nowitzki should deserve him in the conversation. But yeah, it's a nice video. Some people saying it was some crazy takes, but I think it was some people coming with some like this last person with some pretty okay like tame takes. Not crazy. Not crazy disrespectful. But yeah, man. That's it. Bye.